All righty. Welcome to the latest and greatest from sports, podcast network, and the Bills Mafia Buffalo family platform. Live, Rich Ralph Brewing, located at 5 South 20th Street, near Buffalo Bills backers bar. Don't forget to subscribe to our socials on all our platforms at CFMAZ, CFMAZ, or SV the Don NHL, or on YouTube at Step Further Sports. And do all those great engagement functions like videos, rate, review, all that other great stuff. We always appreciate it. And folks, we are now post-Super Bowl, nearly a week into the Olympic break for the NHL. Team USA curb stomped Latvia today by a score of 5-1. More on that later. I think many of us are just hotly waiting for that USA-Canada matchup. But hey, don't sleep on Finland or Sweden. But we're glad to be joined once more by our friends of the show from the airwaves of WGR Sports Radio 550 or on the Odyssey app if you're outside of Western New York. But you can also hear their regularly excellent shows on the Extra Point Show, the Nightcap, Sports Talk Saturday, whenever they're produced, and the producer's chairs for the station, or anytime they might just happen to be filling in. So please welcome back, once again, our friends Derek Kramer and Zach Jones.
How we doing?
What up, boys?
We're great.
Hey. What's going on?
All right. Gentlemen, how goes it? So obviously, talked a little bit off camera on a few things, especially about weather. We thawed out a bit here in the South, but you guys just continue to be in your deep freeze. So doing a vibe check, more or less.
I'm in hell. It won't end. It won't end. I'm constantly cold all of the time. Just won't end.
You know what? It's sometimes you like to relate to a movie or like a television show or something like that. I don't know about Hoth on Star Wars, but that's kind of where we are.
So have you had to go out on Tauntaun at this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got my Tauntaun ready to go to work, and that's how I get to the show every day.
Excellent. Hey, hopefully you don't have to rip them open anytime at all, but at the same time, wouldn't expect anything less. Everybody's had to do some trip to Wegmans or Tops or your grocery store of choice in that manner before. So again, our sympathies to you. I mean,
hey, with the beer to hunker down, you got to get it.
Hey, so you like we said, you got to do what you got to do at this point. But still, gentlemen, we are glad to have you on as always. Outside of work related things, anything new and exciting in your guys' lives that you're able to share?
Nothing really. I mean, the Bills season ended and we got busier. So honestly, not
beautiful
too
irony
much.
Of that.
Right. So honestly, not too much. I mean, we're still, we were mentioning the weather there, so not going outside or anything like that. We've got Valentine's Day coming up, over the weekend. Me and my girlfriend are going to do something on Sunday, so that'll be nice.
Hope you got your dates plans lined up for you, all ready to go there.
But so outside of that, it's just I'm gearing up for draft season once the Olympics is done and the trade deadline passes for the NHL.
You really think you're going to spend that long before you get to it?
No.
Come on, man.
I'm already ready to talk about guys.
As your friend, I have to point that out. Come on.
I'm ready to ride. I have to be respectful to everybody else. I'm like, take your time. You'll all get here. It's okay.
But that's
the train ain't going without you.
But don't hide it from people. You're already looking at stuff. Come on.
Yeah, it's over.
Be real here.
It's bad. I read a mock draft every morning.
Yeah.
Nice.
Today's show got me back into looking at more mock drafts and more 150s because, I mean,
where are we at? 26, boys? 26?
Yep. 26.
I like it.
And the worst part is I don't have nearly as much going on. So, hey, you know what? We'll see what we've got. But, yeah, I just need the cold to stop being really just blown in our faces. I could deal with it otherwise, but, I don't need it reminded and shoved in my face like the way it is.
I literally went down. So I went down to Florida from Atlanta. We had as cold as it was in Buffalo. I'm literally checking Richmond where Chris is. I'm checking where my parents are, where you guys are in Buffalo. And it's the same. It's 15 degrees in Atlanta. And I'm like, dude, what is going on?
Yep.
I fly down to Lauderdale because I have business partners down there. And I land and it's 40. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? No matter where I was trying to go, I could not escape the cold. And the 4 days I was down there, I don't think it broke 55.
Oh, no, not 55. Oh, the horror.
I know. But I'm just saying.
That minus 11.
That was the Sabres road trip down in Florida, though. It was anyone that was going to those games.
I was there. That's where I was.
Right?
That's where I was. I went down for the Panthers game. I was there. Row 6, I think it was.
sick. We're like dealing with like 60-degree differences while you're dealing with that, man. I feel so bad. Here's the violin.
I know.
Yeah, the smallest, saddest violin song while you're playing that too, right?
Can you imagine in our lifetime if there's like one of those what was it, the movie 2012? Like some deep freeze that really happens.
All the apocalypse movies,
yeah, man.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Can't get away. Yeah, exactly.
Now
See, this is what I'm talking about relating to movies, just not those ones.
Right. Good point.
Right. So, what a way to start. Love it. So, but gentlemen, to get more on the sports side of things, of course, we were treated, I guess you could say, with a Super Bowl with, let's just say there were takes of kinds on there, whether you were overly unenthused by the game or you were just enjoying a bludgeoning of the New England Patriots. There's a lot to still take away from it on there. So you can give some love to journeyman Sam Darnold, who is now a Super Bowl champion, first of that 2018 quarterback class. You can appreciate that defensive dominance by Seattle, and you could also give some credit to Christian Gonzalez on New England too. Hey, that pass breakup on JSN into the end zone, that was pretty spectacular. But the thing I'm trying to avoid with this is the Patriots are frauds, that kind of thing. Like you could argue, yes, partially of that, but I'm trying to not be as hot takey as some of the talking head shows tend to be with that too, or using that Drake the Schedule May nickname as well. But at the same time, did you guys have any major takeaways from the game for either of you, other than for most people, of course, it was mostly a snoozer, especially for the non-football and sports junkies that we are. But furthermore, with the way the Patriots really played the game, does that give Bills Mafia any like signs of hope that the AFC East can be retaken next season? I mean, what are your guys' initial thoughts after that?
I mean, for me, like I would say probably my biggest takeaway is that it was an unsurprising Super Bowl. Like when we got the matchup, I think most of us assumed Seattle would probably win comfortably. They in fact do win comfortably. I think with the Patriots, the big thing with them is that I think that did kind of show, though, that they did take advantage of a weak schedule. They got a very nice run in the playoffs. And to that, though, I think it showed off just how much luck does play a factor into it. As much as people don't like to admit that or really want to, put luck at front and center, luck plays a factor in like all of our lives. Like in everything we do, you have to get a little bit of luck. That's very much true in sports. And the Patriots got a little bit of that. It may not come again. They're not a complete roster. They have real questions at wide receiver. They have real questions on their offensive line, especially. And Drake May, who's maybe the least questioned guy up to this point. I mean, he finished second in the MVP, had himself a really bad postseason, like just objectively so. He had a bad postseason. It did not have a very good Super Bowl. I think they're going to be around for a while here. I also think, though, they won't deal with a Bills team that is sort of kind of middling, ultimately in the AFC East. A Chiefs team that's just kind of flat out bad. Baltimore not having Lamar Jackson most of the year, and now they have to deal with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, keeping everybody on that coaching staff, or definitely everyone that is important. Houston in that defense. What does Pittsburgh look like? Do they throw a ton of money at Malik Willis and get interesting with Mike McCarthy? I don't know. I mean, but Pittsburgh never goes away. But ultimately, they got a lot to swing their way, and they made it to the Super Bowl. And they had moments that they could maybe swallow that apple, and they didn't. I will say, though, I think my biggest takeaway as a whole is just I think defense wins championships. That old saying, the old adage, I think that is becoming more and more true. Not even just the last two. You could even go back to the Chiefs back-to-back when they were really led by their defense.
You could say the Chiefs-Bucs Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, the Buccaneers, right? They get after Mahomes like crazy. And so I think more than ever, and I'm still an offensive guy. My favorite position in the sport is still wide receiver. But you've got to have game changers on defense, because if you don't, you're just not going to be able to keep up with these teams. Because Seattle, I think on paper, is more talented than Buffalo. Buffalo has the ultimate game changer at quarterback. It may not have mattered if the Bills were in that game.
I think that what we're looking at also is kind of a dominant run starting with the conference that doesn't have the elite quarterback play. It is about the team building. It is about the big times that you have to be with drafting and how consistent you have to be with drafting. All in all, you're seeing more and more of that. The AFC is getting a couple of fluky teams, like Zach said, last year's Kansas City, this year's New England, and they're facing more complete, better drafted teams in the NFC. It is starting to become one of these weird sagas within the AFC where it's either the Chiefs show up with a good roster that year, or it's a team that shows that they don't belong, and even Kansas City checked that box before as well. The problem with the Bills is they keep also being a team that doesn't belong in the divisional or the AFC Championship game just because they bow out. And they're part of the problem. And we all know that, with the shows that we do, we've been criticizing Brandon Beane. We've been criticizing how the roster construction's there. It kind of leans into it more because if you're not drafting consistently, if you're not getting players that make bigger impacts, you're not getting anywhere. And that's kind of where the Bills are at this point. They've got a couple of players, and on offense is primarily where they are at. Josh Allen, James Cook, and then if you wanted to say like Deion Dawkins for a couple of years was really like becoming like a top 10 tackle in the league. The problem is that's where the list runs out, and it shows.
Yeah.
I mean, Deion Dawkins himself being a lot of subject of some trade chatter, which is shocking as well. So
that's shocking. I think they need to shed some cap. But Chris, real quick, I just wanted to say one more thing about the Super Bowl. I do think you got to give credit to the Patriots. I think we would all agree they're ahead of schedule, and I think the thing is like they played who's on the schedule. They survived and advanced, and what worries me more so anything, like moving forward, they have a ton of cap to spend and kind of build around Drake May while he's still on that rookie deal. So it's really going to depend on, as far as the AFC East goes, is how do the Bills reload, by adding some talent on offense and potentially revamping a defense into potentially a completely different scheme.
I will say, Leonard. Buyer beware. When you have a lot of money, what can you do with it, Zach?
Oh, you can absolutely screw that up. You can absolutely overspend on players that
screw yourself.
You can, and I don't want to say it like it's an anchor that like, I have $100 million in cap, so I'm screwed. No, because one of my big issues I have with Brandon Beane has been that he sort of treats the fact that Josh Allen is Josh Allen and he's paid like it, is that it's some kind of anchor. I don't want to say that, but we do see a lot of these teams that have a lot of cap space try to build their team through free agency rather than just filling in, a few pieces here and there, an edge rusher here, a linebacker here, a wide receiver here, where when you have a lot of cap space, you'll decide we're going to rebuild an entire unit. And some of them will hit, Zach Bond for the Eagles 2 years ago now, a wonderful addition for them. But you can go through every year the quote-unquote winners of the offseason, the winners of free agency. How often are they actually winning on the field? Not often. It's where, Derek's point too, it's through the draft. It's through timely trades. Like that's where you're winning championships. It's where you're winning division titles. The Bills got the hardest part out of the way. They have the freak show quarterback. And I think the Patriots maybe have the hardest part out of the way too. They have a very good, if not elite quarterback who had a tough postseason. But May's potential is more than Tua Tagovailoa's ever was for Miami.
Oh, for
right.
Sure.
I mean, he's already showing it. And now he's gotten maybe for him his worst postseason out of the way. And he made the Super Bowl. So I think your point is right, too, is like we got to give some credit to them. And defense is still very good. And they spent last year. Milton Williams is a free agent addition who went from, he's just going to be a Super Bowl darling. Don't spend money on him. You're going to screw this up, to I think he was better on the Patriots than he ever was for the Eagles. He was a spot guy for the Eagles. He was a wonderful starter for the Patriots.
Rotational guy at best, even. And then not to mention a lot of the free agents on the Patriots, like that team was entirely new compared to the year before, more or less. I mean, then they're still going to have top 10 salary cap space going into next season as well. So for all the cap maneuvering that the Bills are going to have to do, like the Patriots are already there. They have to do nothing other than draft their players and sign the guys they want to sign with already tons of interest, not to mention from the amount of success they already had. And many players have already indicated, you hear rumors and hearsay of people like Max Crosby saying, I'd be interested in playing for Mike Vrabel. But now you get to add a MVP candidate in Drake May to be like a little cherry on top to that deal, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little dangerous. And I do wonder how they're going to get these positions filled, how much money they are going to spend. What contract might you go, oh boy, that could be the albatross that we're looking for? Everything about it can be different. And I don't know. It's going to be a balance that needs to be there. There's going to be a balance that needs to be played out. If New England does it well, look out. If they don't do it well, it at least allows for, down the road, it's not all of a sudden, it's New England's turn to be the team again. It might be, you might have goofed it up enough to where it is a little bit more open again.
I mean, it's obviously year-to-year basis. Like, you're not going to be able to replicate your success. That's something I kind of want to get into a little bit more later. But still, the Super Bowl this year, and I mean, you could argue any year, can always be very reactionary. And it's just like, all right, what next steps is everybody going to take? But still, I do think focusing on it too much can paint the wrong picture for what teams should do, especially with just the way it played out, because many people thought, again, that Denver had Bo Nix playing as opposed to Jarrett Stidham. They should be the ones rightfully in there. You could have had a little bit more of a, I guess you could say, interesting game of sorts, but still, we'll never know just based on the way the events unfolded. But as we're sitting here right now, obviously it's a little bit of a tape delay on here too. We have some Olympics on as we speak right here.
Yeah.
Shawnee V, take it away with this.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear your guys' takes on the Olympics so far. Doesn't necessarily have to be hockey, although men's hockey kicked off today for the most part. Before the Olympics started, I mean, I don't know that this is like a off-the-wall prediction, but I predicted a double U.S. win in hockey, both the women's and the men's team, which men's slight underdog. I think they're like plus 200. Canada was going off for like minus 120 or something. The women, they're a wagon. Looks like they're killing it. What are they?
Hillary Knight is inevitable.
God. Like, I don't think anybody's beating them. That's a foregone conclusion. But the men's today, feel free to talk about the women. Interesting. So the big powers show up. We're expecting U.S., Canada, Sweden. Rasmus Dahlin plays his ass off. 3 points, looking like arguably the best player out there, anchoring their first unit power play, which seems to me one Olympic overdue. I feel like he should have maybe been doing that last time out, but a lot of the elder statesmen, he's like the guy in his prime now. And then the USA today comes out. The Kachuk brothers get the boys on the board. They're in a tough game with Latvia, old friend Zembis Girgensson, before they decide to hit the gas. And our boy right here, Taji, with a nice in tight tuck, backhand tuck. Really nice. Some hands, man. So what have you guys seen? And so far, does everything? Did you see any flaws with the team? I know it's only really been one game, but how do you see it playing out? I mean, can we expect? You think it's going to be U.S. Canada? Is anybody else you think will surprise, or what are your guys' thoughts on how the hockey will go?
Yes, to you legends, no less. Thank you for that, Keenan.
Thanks, Keenan.
For the Olympics, like, I'm always kind of curious how it goes. Like, this is the old saying is best on best now. The NHL players are back, which I'm excited for. We got through the first round of games for each team, right? I don't think we've got anybody that's got to play the first game anymore. And it was all blowouts. Like, the best teams all won. And I don't say that necessarily as a negative. Like, it's day 1 and 2. We're fine. We'll get to some of these better games. But, like, Canada handles Czechia. No issues. 5-0. They move on. The USA had 2 goals disallowed and a post hit. They win 5-1. Like, they just annihilated them. Germany handles Denmark pretty comfortably. Slovakia takes down a Finland team who is very much hurt. Barkov is not there for them. That's a big miss for them. And yeah, I think up to this point, it feels like it's going to be the favorites. I think USA and Canada, after the Four Nations, both have a taste for blood. Olympic hockey and Four Nations hockey, a little bit different. We can't have fights, which is somewhat disappointing because that was sort of the iconic moment of that tournament last year. But to that point, you're going to get very skillful hockey. Both of these teams are going to go for it. And listening to Don Granato, former Sabres head coach, this morning on with Jeremy and Joe,
that was wild hearing him, by the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love hearing him again. I do
an
love
absolute gem. He is.
I wish it would have worked.
Still lives in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
good for him.
But I like that he pointed out that, like, it's a quick tournament. There's no traveling. It's essentially going to get banged out fast. And so for these guys, like, they're going to just kind of live off the moment and build off of that. And it's going to take them. And you can see, like, a lot of these guys have been waiting for the best on best to be back, or, well, really just NHL players to be back. And many of them will probably see it as very much legacy defining for them. Crosby still playing at the level he does for Team Canada. This is huge. Me and Derek talked about it last year during the Four Nations, how a guy like Austin Matthews, who his Toronto career, while it's been wonderful in terms of the regular season and all the goal scoring records, the Rocket Richards, all that stuff, his entire career for Toronto is sort of going to be remembered for the lack of playoff success. Right. Marner already is kind of known for that, even as good as he's been. And so this could be a huge moment for him to notch something for himself. And then you even have some of these other guys. Tage Thompson was not on the Four Nations roster. And now game one gets a beautiful goal on the power plays on their first power play unit. And he's on a line with Larkin and Connor. I think this is all heading towards USA Canada. I think they have the deepest rosters. And I think both are desperate as hell to play each other again.
I do wonder what's going to happen with bracket play. Based on the seeding, how everything's going to go. I am going to be very curious about what happens in the elimination rounds, because of the fact that all it takes is one game, one bad slip up, and you're done. Germany looks like one of those interesting teams to look out for. They're top heavy, but they're really good, and they handle the Swiss today. The Swiss, who typically quietly always hang around in that middle of the pack when it comes to the IIHF. Sweden, that's going to be a team that you cannot take lightly. The Finns got smacked around in their first game, surprisingly, but I think, oddly enough, honestly, it's their defensive core. I think that's what's going to let them down. I don't miss watching Henri Jokiharju on a nightly basis, and Finland proved that again.
Ghost of defenseman past right there.
Yeah, so that was a classic right there. We all love to see that. But I think that ultimately, when it comes down to this, it's going to be, how can you do this skill-wise? And there's an interesting trend that happened in this game that I didn't love, which was Trocheck rotating in on Tage Thompson's minutes 5v5. I don't love that. I don't think that's a good idea. And if they do it in continuous games, you're not facing Latvia every time.
Right.
And typically Latvia is, their Olympic success tends to be a goalie spins on his head randomly and they go out in a gritty fashion. That was not what this was.
They're not led by Ted Nolan anymore. That's
right.
Why.
They're not led by Ted Nolan. And also, Elvis Merzlikins is okay.
He's all right. A couple quick follow-ups for you guys. Chris, chime in too. So we talked about, a team not having a good defensive core. When I look at the U.S. and Canada specifically, I mean, I for one, I realize and I understand that Canada is the favorite, and with the firepower they have offensively, I understand why. But I look at the USA is really building their team, and it's been said a lot to specifically defeat Canada. When I look at those two teams, I see that, I mean, it's not like the USA has bad forwards up front, maybe not quite as explosive goal scorers, but they still have quality there. But I think the USA has them at both defensive core and goalie. Two, are you guys at all surprised that Austin Matthews getting the nod as captain? Because just the way that he's been kind of disinterested at the Toronto level, then they're going to have him be the USA captain. Comment a little bit about those two things if you could.
Yeah, I'm surprised Matthews is the captain. I don't like that at all. I think it is an interesting and not a good direction that they wanted to pick on that one. It kind of allowed me to enter preliminary play with a bad feeling in my gut, to a point where I was kind of scared of Latvia today.
Yeah, you were a little nervous.
Yeah, I was very nervous, actually.
A little nervous.
Like, don't win 3-1 here and it be by an empty netter. Don't do it.
Well, there's a little caveat to that. If the coach of Latvia is going to challenge every goal after every time he's scored on, it's just like, come on.
Hire that video guy now. Like, hire him yesterday, because that was unreal. That was hilarious. It was unreal. And also, to allow me my soapbox, it's Trocheck and Nelson, or not Trocheck and Nelson. It's Miller and Nelson. And I'm like,
right,
this is what I was talking about. Right. But Nelson obviously has a goal as well. And it's probably one of the prettiest plays that you'll see in all of hockey.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. It does look like I'm very fascinated to see if those two teams even draw up against each other. That's the other thing. You're not guaranteed anything in this. And if you're both the top seeds within your tournament, you're going to be a 1 seed and you're not seeing each other until if you make it to the medal round.
Yeah. The Matthews one, it kind of stuns me. As I mentioned, like his entire Toronto career is wonderful in the regular season, but in the postseason he disappears. I mean, right. Marner's the other guy, but Canada doesn't put the pressure on Marner. Marner's just allowed to go out there and be skillful.
Right.
I think as well for me too, and we were talking with Matt Larkin of the Daily Faceoff earlier this week, and we both mentioned it, like how Matthews being the captain was sort of stunning. I think in part for me because he wasn't the guy that turned the temperature up in the Four Nations. That's right. The Tkachuk brothers and mainly Matthew. I think Matthew Tkachuk for many people sort of became a fan favorite, even if you hate the Florida Panthers, because Tkachuk does like everything any hockey fan likes. He's super skillful. He's fast. He scores. Oh, and he's an asshole. So every generation loves him.
Not wrong.
So every. You're right. Every generation looks at Matthew Tkachuk and will find something they enjoy about him. I can't stand that he's on Florida. Don't get me wrong. I also desperately want him. Yeah, I desperately want him on my team. And to me, he exemplifies like everything you want, sort of in a modern captain. Matt was telling us that Matthews might be more of a quiet leader, and it seems to be what it is. For me, though, I am much more somebody. I want somebody leading by example. I want someone that's a little louder, and that was true in my own athletic career. I didn't want somebody that was just leading quietly, and then you had a secondary guy that was more rah-rah. It's like, no. Let's have everyone – because if we can, let's have everyone be the one thing. I would have much rather had, Matthew Tkachuk probably be captain. And in terms of goaltender, by the way, Jordan Binnington, man, he puts on that Canadian sweater, and you got to add on to his statistics. Like, no matter what he's doing with St. Louis, he puts on the Canadian sweater, and it's like, no. His save percentage is .920, and his goals against is too flat, and that's it. Like, he is just different with Team Canada, and that's where, like, Hellebuck today, the one goal they give up is sort of just a scrum in the front of the net. But I'll be honest, when it was done early, I was like, oh, hell, here we go. Like, are we going to be having a conversation about Ottinger or Swayman? Let's see what we go eat. Nope, he was just fine. But Binnington, he is sort of like one of my favorite players in this sense. And I don't mean him personally, but just in the sense of I'm kind of garbage away from the national team. But the moment the national team comes calling, I light it up. I love that in soccer. The goalie for Mexico for a number of World Cups was he was a ghost. No one knew where he was. He would show up for the World Cup, and you're like, he's the second best goalie in the world. Everyone knew this. And you're like, what? Binnington's sort of like the same thing. He puts on the Canadian sweater, and he's like, guys, that cup run was not fluke. And you're like, it kind of was, dude. It kind of was. You're the one that's crazy.
Considering they were like last in the standings that year, and then just clawed their way out of it.
It's ridiculous.
With Berube just being hired, I think midway through the season, I'm sure.
Yep. I watch those highlights regularly. I have no love for the St. Louis Blues, but you throw on Gloriana and a run like that, you've got me for life.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an electric run for that song, by the way, too.
Oh, so good.
When it comes to Canada and how Binnington always just manages to turn it on for Team Canada, it's an unbelievable loyalty to the crest and the flag. But I do think that it is going to be very interesting to see just how successful Canada and US are in group play. I do think that they ultimately both will be 1 seeds in terms of the elimination rounds. Again, we'll see what the rest of the tournament does here. I really like Germany. I think that they're incredibly fun. They're very top heavy, but who cares? Go do what you got to do. Sweden seems to be making the right decision of, hey, Rasmus Dahlin's the best defenseman in our country right now. We should use him. Oh. And Sweden is so deep, though, too. Fourth line is still probably going to be solid depth there on their roster, and it probably is like a second or third line for most of the other countries hanging around here.
Right. I'll also say too, I am also really excited about Slovakia. Jaroslavkovsky, 9 goals in 8 Olympic games. He had 3 points the other day.
Talk about little the crest.
Another guy that shows up for, he's been turning it on for Montreal. Don't get me wrong. He's not considered a bust by any means, but he's sort of, of the young Montreal talent. He is a little bit of the forgotten one. He's
kind of there.
Demidov. Right. He's kind of there. He's not Demidov. He's not Lane Hudson. Caulfield's a little bit older now, so he doesn't really count. But he puts on that national team jersey and he's like, I'm that dude. I'm a dog. And I will always gravitate towards those players because that is something of you make the moment. And you can never have enough of those guys. You really can't.
Putting on that sweater just hits different.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see who it kind of reminds me of in a little bit of a smaller competition window? Cousins with Canada.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that definitely like makes sense because a lot of those guys have World Juniors experience. But you talked about Slavkovsky. He was able to play the last Olympics because he wasn't technically an NHLer, of course. So that one, I like again for him to have already 9 goals in Olympic play is super impressive.
But as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from hockey, of course, because that'll be obviously the huge draw for the Olympics going forward.
I miss my Sabres.
Right? Yeah, that's obviously a bit of
Still
a downside
mad about
of
it.
that. More on that soon, though.
We need rest, Derek. We need rest. Okay?
Yes, and more existential dread of making sure, like, will they or won't they? But still, more on that later. But Derek, you and Joe Cali made me chuckle this past weekend when you guys were on Sports Talk Saturday because you were like a power ranking all the different events on there. Because I particularly enjoyed when Joe Yurden brought up the biathlon. When,
so just how much is that the one with the skiing and the gun and the rifle?
Yes.
Skiing and the gun, yes.
Okay, good.
There's a lot from that show to unfold. First of all, Callie forgetting alphabet. But the other thing, words that I made sure not to say on air, obviously, but I was like, yeah, give Yoshi. Oh, we're going to stop that one right there. Because, like, what's not in Mario and Sonic Olympic games? Biathlon. Oh, here's why. There's a Shadow the Hedgehog game that you gave him some guns, but, you know, like.
Which, like,
that was kind of the premise of the game.
I gotta look this up. Isn't the biathlon based off like the Finnish military in World War II being skiers with guns? That's so metal, man. Like, why is that an Olympic
sport? And I love
that
you use that as an adjective.
It's
More people
so
need to use metal as an adjective.
I think it's like the Iditarod or something.
Right. And if I'm a broadcaster, I'm leading every conversation with that. Be like, by the way, this sport came around in World War II, and just like leaning into the story. What a sport. I've watched like 30 seconds of it, and each time when they like pull up to like shoot at the target, I'm like, what do you mean there's a rifle in this? And I know it's coming.
I need a crossover from the Summer Olympics. I want that Turkish dude who was just wearing glasses and a t-shirt and sweatpants to climb the mountain in some t-shirts and shorts and just pop off a shot from 200 yards away with a bullseye. None of the extra scope and gear.
My favorite thing from that was just going on Twitter and everyone, like, I saw a bunch of comments. People were being like, so he's clearly an assassin, right? Like, everyone's like he's clearly a killer. Yeah. Like, it's like, no, it's just an average dude that just is good at this. And everyone's like,
okay.
Why don't you check his email? Come on.
He's an assassin. That said, anything cross-country skiing, I'm turning it off. So that includes the biathlon. So we're cooked there. But curling, I understood the rules within 48 hours.
Yep.
Thanks to mixed doubles, Corey Dropkin, taking silver for Team USA. Zach's with me for both of those matches as we're in the studio, we're preparing the show, doing the shows, and I learned everything I needed to learn about curling in 2 days. I now understand all of the scoring. I understand that there's power plays there. Did you know that?
There's innings and power plays.
Don't let Seth Abbott near any curling matches.
Right.
But then also luge, skeleton. Those immediately draw my eyeballs, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're going so fast. Snowboarding, freestyle, for skiing and snowboarding both. I love watching Olympic Games because there is so much to it. I will make one correction from that tier list that I created from Saturday, Chris, and that is short track speed skating. We're moving that up because there are crashes, chaos, and
wild.
Yes, it's all sorts of the hell that you think you want in sports, wrapped up into a mini track of speed skating.
Hey, speaking of skating with that regard too, don't forget about the quad god. He's pride of Northern Virginia.
Yeah. I was going to say, I every Winter Olympics and every Summer Olympics, I get into both gymnastics and figure skating in part because the sports freak me out. Like it's like with gymnastics, I'm watching, in a sense, many times, very short people throw themselves into the air and flip as many times as humanly possible. And if you watch any of their practice footage, they fall all the time. And I'm like, nope, I'm cool. Not for me. And then you add ice onto that. And they're like, I'm just going to do flips. And on Quad God, by the way, he does back flips and gets no points. He does it for the love of the game. Like that's how you
just to show off.
Like that's how you get me into a sport. And I think I saw maybe an article for maybe Awful Announcing, or I can't remember who wrote the article, but it was talking about Ilya Malinin and just basically how these athletes you see in these very specific sports. Like I was a swimmer for almost 15 years of my life. Did it in college for a year, the whole thing. And Phelps was this. Like you had to pay attention to Phelps, and swimming already had quite a bit of a following in the Summer Olympics, but Phelps was that guy. Simone Biles with gymnastics, like it didn't matter if you like gymnastics or not. You had to follow. You had to see what she was doing, and it was comparing Malin to this too. Of like, he is so different in how the sport has been done. You have to keep up on him, and that's all I want to do. Like, I want to be at the forefront with this stuff. It's why I like college basketball too. I like being at the forefront of some of these mid majors when they're coming up, or even years before they have D1 eligibility. I was like that with Grand Canyon when they still had Dan Marley as their coach, all those years ago, or UC San Diego. I absolutely adore that stuff. And the Olympics is the perfect bit of that. Because, we learned the rules of curling. We won't need to learn those or know those rules for another 4 years. Like it's these very arguably niche sports. You learn a lot about them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're gone. And I think there's something very beautiful about that of like, everyone's watching, everyone's paying attention, and you have some of these like great moments, and then it's gone. It just as fast as it showed up. We talked about that with the hockey, where maybe the best thing for these guys is that it's not a long tournament. It's very quick. They don't have many days off. They're not traveling. But in that sense, this is going to be over with very quickly. We haven't even talked about the U.S. women. Their quarterfinal game is tomorrow.
Oh my God.
I mean, the tournament's going to be over with, I think, in the middle of next week or late next week.
Yep.
And I've never seen a dominant force like this, the way that they are whooping everyone's ass very consistently right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even Canada had no shot against them.
No, they're just getting smoked.
But it's not just the Olympics there with the U.S. and Canada. The rivalry series, U.S. women, take them to the woodshed on that too. So it is just an evolution of how the U.S. women has become the superior product in terms of ice hockey, and it's not even close. I think that Canada is going through this transitionary period right now where their roster is older and they need to find younger and faster solutions to what the U.S. is bringing to them right now, because it's not good. The answer that they have currently on the ice, it's not good. And they need to figure it out and get younger, get faster, and do it quickly, because it's kind of showing a weird switch all of a sudden here, where now the U.S. women are expected to win gold, and it's not even close.
Speaking of which, I did want to give Chris, I know we're going to talk about some betting in a little bit. So for tomorrow's, the women, okay, you have Italy versus U.S. and Germany versus Canada. Money lines are off. USA is giving, the spread is 6.5. Canada is 5.5 against Germany.
I think that's too gracious for the Italians.
Right.
You know what's funny though? It'll probably be 5-0, because that's just what the U.S. women do. It's either 5-0 or 5-1. Like they top themselves out of 5 goals. Derek's right though. I mean, we were saying this maybe on air or off air.
It was off air.
It's 8-0 though. Like they're
I'm looking at 8.
Yeah, give the 6.5 with confidence.
Yeah, they might hit 11. I don't know, man. They're terrifying.
So good. Oh my goodness.
Absolute wagon. One last point on the Olympics before we kind of transition a bit. You mentioned more niche style like sports being on here. One of the things that I was just seeing on the tape delay for the Olympics, I have it on the background right now, is half pipe snowboarding on here.
I love it.
And I saw Chloe Kim. I would have never known, one, about Chloe Kim, first off, but second of all, she dates Myles Garrett. Like,
she dates Myles Garrett.
Yeah, these little like things that you would have never known were like a thing. It just like elevates that to just a whole nother level, which I think is awesome. So,
like the Paul brother dating the
Dutch speed skater.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
super hot and super talented.
Yes, unfortunately,
she breaks an Olympic record. This whole thing.
It's not that she's dating someone; that she's dating Jake Paul.
Right.
I'll be honest though, like it threw me. Like she breaks the Olympic record, and you see the camera pan over, and Paul is just in tears, and I'm like,
good for him.
Oh my god, he's a real person. He's got some emotions to him. No, I didn't say a good person. I didn't say a good person, but a real person.
Real person.
It's a real person.
Right.
That's good. But I was like, oh man,
supremely debatable. But
supremely debatable.
Yes, the neat thing I thought with Garrett, he's actively taking like photos with like a giant camera lens on there. Like you see him like in the background pointed out on there. I think the NBC broadcast made like a point to show him and Chloe Kim's dad next to each other, just taking pictures with like a giant image of her face on like a zip up hoodie. I'm like, that's awesome.
I'm always there for wife guys, like that's one of the biggest things you could always do. Like as a person is be there for your partner, whoever it is. And I'm always there for that kind of support. Find someone that you love or like enough that you are willing to wear a shirt with their face on it and being like, that's my boo right there.
Yes.
And that can go in any direction that you want on that sort of thing. And it's like, I don't care if I'm more famous. This is their time to shine. Sure, look at me for whatever reasons you need to point a camera there, but you better put that I'm here for a reason. And it's not because of me. It's not because I'm bored. It's because I'm here to support my partner. I'm being supportive. And I'm always there for that kind of thing.
Should show up to court, Chris, with some Emily faces on some shirts.
Do it.
Right? I'm not sure if she'd kick us out, be mortified, all of the above. You never know. But
probably.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, right? Hey, we'll order the T-shirts now. That'll be great.
We'll order the T-shirts now.
To kind of circle back again, I hate to circle back to the Bills as we were talking about them before, but we wanted to do this before we get into our Sabres itch, of course, too.
Right.
But obviously a full-on off-season mode. Coaching staff set. A lot of people happy with Jim Leonard being now the D coordinator. The draft. Derek, I have to ask, are we going to get a remix of Mock Draft Simulator this year? It's what the people want to know.
Mock Draft Simulator.
See?
I will say the brain rot is there good enough that maybe that it needs to come back because the fact that it infected enough brains, maybe there does need to be a remix to the edition. A little less wide receiver mention, maybe not. I don't know.
You should get a chorus for it. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. But I will say it right now. I had an entire 2.5 minute song written for that bit.
Nice.
I did not record the entire 2.5 minute bit, but it is still one of the dumbest things ever, inspired by Game Grumps. And
I love that platform. That's great.
Dude. Because they played a forklift simulator, and the next thing you know, they're just singing something stupid about forklift simulator. And I'm like, what if I did this for nobody asked for it? So maybe being on more shows more frequently right now, I'm in the building more.
Hey, the people want to hear, Derek.
Speaking of which, Derek, we will be at that draft. Am I allowed to say that, Chris? Is that a secret?
Yes, we are planning to go to the draft.
There you go.
So if you guys want us to call in live on location, we got you.
It was funny. This is one of those drafts. Like, I mean, the last 4 years, I've been working every NFL draft.
Yeah.
This was like the one I was like, oh, I'd love to go.
Even
if it's like Saturday, if it's Saturday for like rounds 4 through 7, I'm like, oh, I'd love to be there. It's an easy drive. It's not hard by.
Don't forget, next year's in DC on the National Mall. That'd be a hell of a vibe too.
There you go.
That would be pretty good. That would be pretty good.
Here's your behind the scenes moment. Screw that. The Sabres make the playoffs. Fuck the draft. I don't care at that point.
Hockey, baby.
I was thinking about this too. Just like
I told our program director to his face, I'm like, look, Alan, if they make the playoffs, I am betraying you. I am not doing the draft that night. I'm at the arena. Send me up with Koziel, and I'll talk to you later.
Right? I mean, the Bills won't pick until 26. If the Sabres play, say at like 7 or 7:30, by the time the Bills even make the pick, they won't even
game would be over probably.
The game in theory will be over unless there's like a ton of overtime.
Do not care. Big old F the draft. I do not care. Blah 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 blah. The draft. I'm not here. I'm at the arena.
Or party in the plaza. That's going to be a vibe again too. Again, not counting any chickens before they hatch, of course, too.
But
gotta make it first.
I said it to our boss right to his face. If the Sabres make the playoffs, I'm betraying you. Depending on what nights it is, I'm not going to be there.
Priorities.
And Yeah, priorities. Sorry, it's the first time in 15 years. Sorry, Zach. You're gonna have to carry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Hey, give us a call.
But
I was saying, what's funny, a lot of the draft coverage will turn into like, all right, now let's go to what's going on with the Sabres. All right, that's happening. Right. All right, back to the Giants. You know,
You've also known this a year in advance, though, Zach. So it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Again, our boss didn't even disagree, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, we can do draft coverage from the arena. I mean, we could do that. Like,
yeah, you're just like, why not both?
Right? Yeah, like we can have fun with this.
I'm like,
the only thing I was thinking about,
it's a good problem to have.
The only thing I was thinking about with this is if, say, obviously the Sabres make it, and then the draft is obviously those first couple nights, because that Thursday the 23rd and then Friday 24th, those would be the 2 primetime draft days. I mean, the only way I feel like, again, if the Sabres make it again, the only way that's not going to happen is if it's like the random 2 days worth of travel that you're not going to see them.
Right.
I know that happens occasionally. I've also thought ahead on this too, just because, again, if we're going to the draft in Pittsburgh, like, we're going to need to be able to watch that game in some capacity. So,
right. I would also rather watch that game than be at the draft in person, even if I'm just watching the game. Honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
One thing if they're taking a quarterback, when you're like, is it going to be a receiver? Is it going to be a linebacker? Oh, and the Sabres around right now. You know where you're going.
Yeah. Like you said, Derek, priorities. But
priorities big time. And
circling back to, again, mock draft simulator remix, wanted. But still,
we might be able to get that. There's more in the building there. AC, I see you in the chat right now. You got to ask the bullpen if they want it, because if not, I might not deliver. So you've got an important task there, AC.
Hey,
gauntlet thrown down.
AC, he's already given some love to Zach again for retweeting news about the afternoon. So there you
AC,
go.
now I got a job for you. You got to find out if mock draft simulator is something that the boys, the gals, and everyone in between needs, because I'm a man of the people.
Hey, the people help make those decisions, Derek. Getting back to, we mentioned Deion Dawkins earlier. You can also throw Dawson Knox into this mix, because their names have come up often, and I've mentioned Curtis Samuel, any of these guys. Cap casualties for the Bills, of course. Who are the first guys you think of if it actually is going to happen? Will they restructure, get an extension? Who are the guys right away that come to mind? Or unthinkable, like say a trade happens for either of them, or just outright release? I mean, new regime, the regime might be thinking differently about the players that are already on this roster. They also still at the same time want to not necessarily appease Josh Allen, but still they want to make sure that people are still happy. They still get the draw for veteran players and new players alike. I mean, initial takeaways for that, because like I said before, I would be just truly floored if somebody like Deion Dawkins was either A, released, or B, traded. Whereas for Dawson Knox, like, yes, he has that connection with Allen, like very tight friends, very close connection, stuff like that. But that cap it is the cap. Like, if you're going to be paying a premium amount of dollars to a tight end who isn't necessarily a huge weapon in the passing game, like, yes, he's a good hybrid of both, you could argue, Jackson Hawes and Dalton Kincaid, but just the production just these past few years have not really justified that salary cap hit. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that right away?
It's funny, the Knox thing, like his production never justified his contract.
Right.
He ended up getting.
No.
What's almost frustrating with that, though, is this offense looked significantly different when all 3 tight ends were not in the offense. And so I think to that point, I think Knox is going to be one of those guys where you're going to want to restructure. And, Knox may want to, too, just to like stick around in Buffalo, restructure it, take a little bit less money. I think another guy you're going to have to look to reconstructure is going to be yearly Josh Allen. I think that is going to be something that happens yearly. If he's on the roster, which I think he will be, is Deion Dawkins. I think him as well. There's a few guys they can do this with. The more what I'm going to be kind of curious by is what did they do with Matt Milano? With ultimately the void year being around, I think, $11 million, it is much more financially safe to just bring him back on a 1-year deal in like 4 years. And I heard Sal Capaccio and Matt Bove talking about this too. And then just push the void year 1 more year, give him like a 4-year, 3-year deal now, and then just kind of, kick the can down the road, what have you. Curtis Samuel, I think you cut him. It's like 6.2 or 6 minutes.
He gets a pretty good substantial relief.
Yeah.
It's the ones where you're kind of like, ooh, you got to sit with us a little bit. Josh Palmer, you have to sit with Palmer. even though it kind of worked exactly how a lot of Chargers fans said it was going to, if not a little bit worse, because he obviously picks up some injuries. But you're going to have to kind of sit in that a little bit here. Terrell Bernard, you just gave him a contract extension, and it looks to be already kind of a bad decision, just flat out. And then, of course, you also look at some of these guys like, maybe do we want to move off of them anyways? Ed Oliver, somebody I'm always kind of curious about, just because he's the last time they really had a quote-unquote blue chip pick area, top 10, top 15, where you maybe should be getting a stud. And he's been good, not great. He's been very inconsistent. What we saw this year was, he's shining. He just can't stay healthy.
And that was like the first time that's ever truly happened. Like, he's missed a couple games here and there, but like this was just like a prolonged, extended amount of time. And I'm pretty sure he also, at the end of the Denver playoff game, like he just got nicked up even more, which prevented him from even getting back in the game.
It was a brutal year for him. It really did feel like he was finally ascending. They can do a ton of different things. They're going to have to do a ton of different things. I'm more curious in what they do with the guys like Matt Milano with that void year, because Milano is not what he was before. I mean, there was some hope. It seemed like coming into the season, he was having a very good training camp. It's not really that at all. And then, of course, guys like Curtis Samuel, cutting him and stuff like that, I think is really where you're going to see what this staff wants to do. I will tell you, on the Dion Dawkins stuff, I'd be more willing to buy trading him if they fully cleaned house. If this was a new general manager, a new head coach, the whole thing, and they weren't really married to anybody, I could maybe get behind that. But with Bean and the entire front office still being here, Joe Brady being the head coach, I think they really just wanted to – I think really what it comes down to is they don't think the defensive philosophy was getting it done, and that they wanted to change some of that stuff up. They trust Brady enough. Brady has the trust of the offense, from everything we hear, and they want to go from there. So I don't really think they're going to want to rock the boat all that much there.
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, is that they have two positions at guard and center that are not necessarily solidified. They got to shell out some money. So do we really want to replace three starters on the line?
Yeah, not to mention potentially extending Osiris Torrance at the same time. So
right.
This is the first year they can do that. Yeah.
To speak on the big boys as a big boy, I do think that they are in better position than most teams are when it comes to having to move on from a couple of players on the interior line. I think Alec Anderson can move into any position on the offensive line and be a starter for them day one. McGovern's tricky. Losing a center always hurts. That's the backbone. That's the spine. That's the brain of the offensive line.
Right.
They drafted Cedric Van Pran-Granger for a reason. And I think we're going to find out what do you got for us, kid? And we're going to have to find that out.
Could argue that for Alec Anderson as well.
And right. Anderson's one that I can put him anywhere on the line. Wherever there's the hole there, say Van Pran-Granger doesn't really fill in that well. Anderson can play center. He has done it in a pinch. Especially with Van Pran-Granger hurt this year.
Tylen Grable as well, available.
You've got Grable,
Chase Lunt, yes.
Yeah, you've got your draft. That's something I do like about the Bills, is that they do invest at least a day 3 pick in the offensive line every year. We talked with Ian Hartitz today, and he said that's probably one of the smarter things that they do is they just keep investing in the offensive line, because it can be a very quick turnaround from having one of the better offensive lines in the league to being absolute garbage.
And not to mention, there's a bit of continuity with keeping Austin Gunn on, despite hiring the coach from Pittsburgh just now. But he also still had the connection to Aaron Kramer still. So the system will likely still be relatively in place for the offensive line and having the continuity. So might not necessarily be a huge blow. Necessarily, you had to lose someone like McGovern or David Edwards per se, but still. And not to mention, you also have Ryan Vandenmark. He's one of their few RFAs as well. So he'll still be potentially available for the Bills unless he gets a better offer from another team. But to keep going a bit on the Bills, I mean, I'm trying to find my word choice on this carefully, because I was trying to take some notes on this, because I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm looking on, whether it's social media, which is probably the last place you need to look for, or just having conversations in general. I feel like to a point where with Bills fans, they're coming off, I think, more than a bit entitled. I mean, Sean, I know you want to talk a bit about this as well. I mean, having Allen and pieces in place that are on the team that have already been established, like Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and James Cook, you're still going to be a contender on offense, no question, especially because of Allen. Grand scheme of things, I mean, aside from division wins in the previous seasons, you're still a team with no Super Bowl appearances, let alone still only really making 2 AFC championship appearances. And I feel like fans are just expecting or outright just demanding them to be in the Super Bowl year after year. And this is Joe Brady's first year, his inaugural season as head coach. Already making that pressure cooker overflow on this. And then this past season alone showed that nothing's guaranteed. Didn't win the AFC East. They were a 6th seed. They had the hardest time getting to that 6th seed at times, it felt like. And this year also showed that Allen isn't completely invisible in the playoffs like he has been in the years past. He's getting nicked up more. Those injuries are lingering. I mean, yeah. Sean, what's the other part you wanted to add on that?
I just wanted to add in, to your point, you talk about that pressure cooker. I mean, I think that's very real. You see that a team like the Patriots, brought in a new coach like Vrabel and turned their season around from being like a 4-win team to basically getting to the Super Bowl, within basically a season. And there's a lot of other teams that have turned it around, like a Seattle. Both teams that were there were not projected to really go far this year. But it's they make the changes that they do. They kind of more or less arrive at the conclusion that it's McDermott and the defense that have let them down, and they've retained Joe Brady. But, I mean, is it easy to say, or maybe not so easy to say, is it realistic that if this team doesn't turn it around this year, does Joe Brady and Brandon Beane, are they not out the door in 2 seasons together if they don't get this right? I mean, is that too crucial to say?
I think there's a mix. I think context is always required with everything here. There could be a down season because the quarterback misses 4 games.
Yeah.
And I would guarantee you they're probably 1-3 at best if that happens, especially with how the roster is made up right now. So context will always matter in these circumstances because you can never truly guarantee or predict what's going to happen.
It's true.
And I'm always going to be on that wait and see kind of notion anyway. That said, Allen healthy, go through 2 full years, and there seems to be no progress. Yeah, if you need to get rid of the general manager, you don't want a lame duck head coach. You have to do a hard reset at that point. And I think that the problem with hiring Brady to be the head coach is you kind of did set him up for this. And the presser was Sean McDermott bad. I don't think that this is a good scenario, which is funny because Pagula and Sam said presser. He mentions no, it's not Super Bowl or bust for whoever the new coach is. Well, you promoted from within and you kind of pointed it all at the guy that was here is just cheeks.
And the first thing you mentioned was playoff wall. What does success look like, being the everlasting, evergreen question he had, which is what many people thought was a fair thing for him to say, of course, despite all the other, let's just say, jumbling of words he had come out of his mouth throughout the duration of that presser. But still, I mean, is he not just setting him up for failure, first of all, like Sean was saying, but then also getting back to where Bills fans were previously, it just feels like these last couple of years, there's just an unearned arrogance. Because yes, the division wins have been wonderful. It sets them up to potentially win, but still never been able to beat Big Brother Chiefs, even though the Chiefs weren't in it this year. I mean, not to be a naysayer by any means. It's year after year, success can still be a good thing, of course, but it just depends how you define success. I mean, I'm getting to the point where you can't have this level of arrogance with the team anymore, especially when New England literally leapfrogged them. Yes, say what you want about the schedule, but still, they made the moves they needed to make happen. They won the games that needed to be won. I mean, yes, say what you will about the injury luck of other teams that happened to them throughout the course of their playoff run or just throughout the regular season. They did it. I mean, they were points away from losing to Jacksonville very quickly had that Buffalo bobsled didn't lead them for that 10-yard tush push. I mean, heck, the Denver game could have even been worse had the turnovers continued. Still, like Allen willed them to win despite the turnovers, but still, I'm getting to the point with the Bills. Like there's still just this unearned arrogance, and it's they truly, realistically, other than the divisions, have not won a thing. And I just wish like a wider lens needs to be taken, and not just such a critical approach on it at all times, like saying absolute must win the Super Bowl. Whereas like there's a balance of yes, you have to do that, and no, like you need to still like get some more street cred under your belt. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
It's tough. I mean, because you're right. Like ultimately, like what do division titles really matter in the NFL? Like honestly, not that much. It really is Super Bowls, and that's kind of it. Like honestly, you get more credit for making a conference championship game than you do for winning your division title. I think for me, where I get to with them though is they have been the pinnacle of consistency, not success, but consistency. Now that the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs this year, they have the longest running playoff streak here. I mean, that's incredible. When you look not that long ago, they couldn't make the playoffs for over 15 years. It was almost 20 years. Right. I think my problem is in where I sit, and I'm probably part of like the, I guess, quote unquote, like unearned arrogance is expectations have changed. You can't keep getting as close as they do and then not getting through it. They have to get it done. It's not fair for Joe Brady. It's probably not fair for most of the team. But you have to, I think, be one of now, if he can get it done, 3 head coaches in NFL history to win the Super Bowl in their first year. George Seifert and a guy named Don McCaffrey for the Baltimore Colts. That's it. Like those are the guys. George Seifert for the 49ers, Don McCaffrey for the Baltimore Colts. You have to. And in part, it's because you've been here for so long. And while, yes, teams have leapfrogged you, you've also seen a lot of teams kind of fall by the wayside in equal measure. You know, Cincinnati, how much longer is Joe Burrow going to get that run of he made a Super Bowl? Probably like another year or two before it's like, okay, well, but Drake May did that. And Sam Darnold won a Super Bowl. Like, so cool, go away. You know,
go away.
You know, you have the all-world quarterback, and I talk a lot about this with these all-world, generational, if you want to use it, level quarterbacks. You know, Allen and Lamar Jackson are sort of getting to the range because their careers have gone on now long enough that they would be compared to the likes of, if they were to retire without a Super Bowl championship, the likes of Fran Tarkenton and Dan Marino and Dan Fouts, right? These all-time greats that arguably changed the game when they were playing to never win a championship. And the problem is I think, especially for Buffalo fans, I think especially, that is just another notch in our belt. It is no goal. It is 4 straight Super Bowl losses. It is the lengthy playoff droughts. And, oh, yeah, you have one of, if not the most physically talented quarterback ever, and you didn't make a Super Bowl. It would almost feel poetic in the sense of, like, of course it happened to Buffalo. Like, of course it would. And I think that's where I think there is, sure, like a level of unearned arrogance, but it's also, and some don't love this, and I understand it, but expectations have changed. The expectation now is the Bills to be a 10 to 14-ish win team, like within that range. Their floor under McDermott was 10 wins. That's the one thing that sucks for Brady is we don't know if he is going to have that same level of just consistency. We have zero idea. Right. I like what Brady is saying. You're always going to like what most of these guys say. Like outside of the few moments where you get Liam Cohen doing the Duval and Dan Campbell biting kneecaps.
Or Adam Gase going,
yeah, doing the weird eyes.
Following the tacos.
Right. For the most part, a lot of these guys are exceptionally trained in terms of the media. They know exactly what they're going to say because they just sold a bunch of billionaires that they know what they're doing and that they can have the keys to the kingdom. And so it's a shame. That's the thing. McDermott probably should have a Super Bowl ring to his resume. I think the problem is he was just not good enough of a coach. The defense is and it's not just this year. But the defenses far too often let them down. I liked McDermott. I thought he was good enough to get one done because I've seen the likes of John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson win Super Bowls. You don't need to be a stud first ballot Hall of Fame coach. You don't. But you do need to be it at one time. Right. You need to be that guy. Like
you can't give it away in the most crucial moment.
Doug Peterson, for all his faults, in 2017 in that playoff run, he got Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh, for all of his faults, got Joe Flacco to win a Super Bowl. And for both
Super Bowl MVP, Joe Flacco.
Right. And for both of those men to have some of the most historic runs we've ever seen. Sean McDermott had Josh Allen putting up a run like that. And in big moments on his side of the ball in particular, he couldn't get it done. Like, I go back to it. Like, ultimately, I think the big thing that the Bills did this offseason is we need to desperately change the philosophy on the defense. That could even be to the point of, because this has also been the big talking point for mainly Brandon Beane and Terry Pegula, the roster's good enough. Maybe they really are looking at guys like Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver and Deion Walker or what have you and going, that's elite talent, and he's holding them back. We talk a lot about that with the offense, the fear that maybe McDermott was holding the offense back. What if it was the defense? Their entire philosophy was bend, don't break, right? Go for turnovers. If a team's going to score, let them score quick. That kind of stuff. And maybe that was really their biggest problem, because they would go up against less than offenses that would be able to, especially when they have good quarterbacks, put up numbers. I mean, how many playoff games did we go in a row? They weren't getting the quarterback in the ground. They can't get a sack. It is
not to mention points on the board. I think it's one of my favorite things that Tyler Dunn ever points out.
Mm-hmm.
In all of their losses, they're averaging over 30 points a game given up.
Yeah,
and it's
and when your head coach is a defensive head coach, like, that's the thing too. We didn't go through it this cycle. McDermott's not going to be head coach, and it seems like he wants to take the year off, a lot like Vrabel did. I imagine he'll end up probably doing like a consulting thing for one team just to stay in the league. But I'm really curious this time next year, especially let's say if Joe, like, let's say the Bills don't win Super Bowl this year, but they go to the AFC Championship. How does that look for McDermott? I really like the individual. The few interactions I had with him, wonderful guy. The team seemed to really love him. But there is something to that of, man, on your side of the ball, most, if not all, of the playoff losses fell squarely on the fact that your defense could not get enough timely stops. And if you want to, yes, and I mainly blame the turnovers for Denver, but you can really sit there and go, cool, but like every time a backup went in, both freaking Knicks is throwing dimes and they're scoring at will, or a 3rd and 12 when, guys, we got them, just don't give up a big third down conversion. Again, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like clockwork. You knew what was going to happen to the Bills defense. The only thing that was honestly stunning in that playoff game was that the opposing offense scored right before the half. You very rarely see those kind of gaffes, but that alone is something there of just it was probably time. It's not fair to Joe Brady, but it wouldn't have been fair to any of these coaches that came in. Like we've all talked about this job opening be the best ever. It's not fair to any of them. It's not fair to Jesse Minter for Baltimore either. He's walking into now a situation where, hey, they might be like one of the most talented teams on paper. Figure it out, dog. Have fun year one. Even if the Bills had hired Grant Yadinsky, I mentioned this. Like, as much as Joe Brady was uninspiring, it doesn't mean he's going to be necessarily a bad hire. He can be very good. I just didn't get the moment of reprieve, those 2 or 3 days where I could just be excited about the new head coach before I eventually moved on to, okay, but who's on his staff?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, everything with Joe Brady's hiring is just expedited the process of where we'd all get to, which is the expectations are astronomical and your staff is going to be maybe the most important thing you do. All right, big dog, have fun. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think the only shame of it is we'll have no idea. We'll have no real takeaways from him until January. It'll be about a year before we have any real takeaways on Joe Brady.
Yeah. Zach, that was outstanding. Let's take a quick break to get a word from our sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. So DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. DraftKings, in partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. A couple quick looks at some of the lines on here. Real quick, just to mention some of the odds. For Canada at Switzerland, you could argue that is probably the best game on the lineup there. You could also take a look at Sweden and Finland being a close one there. Canada, 2.5-point favorites there tomorrow. Sweden and Finland, if we're just going strictly Olympic hockey. Sweden, only 1.5-point goal favorites there. So maybe consider your odds there carefully, folks. But still, with DraftKings, keep all this in mind as well. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-778-9777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Texas. Wager tax pass through May apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming sources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. And with that, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
I have a gambling problem. Luckily that I live in a state where it's not legal, so I can't gamble. So
That's good.
It kind of works out for me. I want to ask you guys a question. I know on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, we don't really know. We can look at what Jim Leonard's done in the past at the college ranks, and then also what, the small amount of, I guess, a couple seasons with Denver to look at what he's done in the history of being on that staff. But when we look at the offensive side, it actually doesn't have to be limited to, because there's been some potential moves linked, like a Max Crosby. Is there a particular offensive move that Joe Brady can make? I know there's been some rumors like a Jay Jettas, maybe some other big receivers that might be available via trade. Anything that you guys would pick to be your de facto solve move for the offense to get us some legit juice at wide receiver 1?
Derek, if you want to go first.
Funny about that, because I asked the very same question to Ian Hartitz today.
Is you? Okay.
But it was more about just trade you want to see happen, less about what the Bills can do. I'm going to channel exactly what I said earlier on our show today, me and Zach, and it is this. I don't expect a big move on offense from the trade market, nor in free agency. They don't have the money.
Yeah.
They have to already clear $11 million in cap. Then they have to replace free agents. Good luck. It's not happening. And you need to make sure that you get your job done in order to get this roster to improve. So I don't see that big swing. I don't see any of these things happening. And maybe that's also because last year I wanted Myles Garrett, and then I changed the name to Trey Hendrickson, and then I changed the name to Max Crosby, and we got Joey Bosa, and you'll like it. We got Myles Garrett at home.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I'm dead inside.
I think for me, I think they can do it. I think it's going to depend on exactly who. Brian Thomas Jr., if Jacksonville wants to offload him, I think he's maybe the perfect one to fit.
Still a rookie deal? He's a rookie
right,
deal.
And it's things.
Cheap.
It fits what Derek's point was, which is you don't really have a ton of money. Well, right there, boom, you got at least 2 more years to work with him. I think that one can absolutely work. I also wonder too. Ian brought up the name that I kind of forget just because we didn't really see much of him, but that's Brandon Ayuk. And I think for both of those guys, you maybe don't have to offload too much of your draft capital, because I still stand by that. Like, you need to build more through the draft. And I would probably be more in line to, if I'm going to make a big trade, I want to do it on defense, namely for edge rusher. But if I'm going to do it on offense, Brian Thomas Jr., I think you can probably do it for a second-round pick. His second year was a vast drop off from his first year. And
say the same for Marvin Harrison Jr. too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's my pick right there. We brought in the coach from Arizona, so there's the connection.
Marvin Harrison Jr. would be the same thing. And then Ayuk, I mean, they're not going to ask for a first-round pick. They just want him off the roster. And for them, they'd probably sit there and go, great, we don't have to deal with the contract anymore either. Like, we'll take a third, like whatever. I adored what Dallas did to get George Pickens. I thought that was a really good move. It's why I was really stunned by the Micah Parsons trade, is I was like, you just made like a really savvy move to go get Pickens, kind of very much a disgruntled receiver in Pittsburgh. Like, that's Jerry Jones for you. Like, you can credit him in one thing, and then the next moment be like, still got one more trick. And you're like, don't, dude, come on, don't. All right, you did it. All right. And so I would be really into something like that. I would much more, I think, go into the draft at receiver, I think, especially because I think that's where they really need help. I mean, that does depend on if they lose both their offensive linemen in free agency. But I think I'd be much happier in the draft for the offense, where the defense, I think they really need a big swing there. I think they've got to try to figure it out, as much as the team maybe wants to tell you how good the talent is. And sure, maybe it is, right? Maybe it is the scheme, like I was mentioning before, that Jim Leonard's going to get more out of it than Sean McDermott. But I think right now you've got to try to do something. And you've got Trey Hendrickson, who's 31 right now. I think he's going to be maybe 32 at the start of next season. He wanted a long-term deal in Cincinnati, but maybe you can get him to sign to a 2-year, $20 million deal, or 2 years, $20 million per, and to lock him up that way, or 2 years, $15 million per year.
Maybe add a void year or two on there. But from what I'm hearing from you, Zach, on that is once it gets to draft night, you'll be like, KC Concepcion, step on down.
And I hate it. Like the diehard Longhorn fan in me is like, this is disgusting. I never got my Texas receiver. Never. I was saying this to Ian today. I was not a Xavier Worthy guy. I was A.D. Mitchell. Like that. I was all about Adonai Mitchell. And it never kind of felt like he was ever coming to the Bills, especially when the stuff with like him not taking insulin and kind of being a nutcase at times of practice. It felt like, oh crap, like that's gone. So it would be my luck that's like, and we're gonna get the A&M receiver. I love Concepcion. I love his the tape I've been able to see from him. It seems like he fits the Bills perfectly. It'll just feel like the Bills stabbing me in the heart.
Fair take. Zach, I know you got to run pretty quickly on here, but one last thing just before we get kind of keep going. Derek, are you good to go for a little bit more?
We've got more. I've got some Sabres. I've got Hives. So I need to talk about Sabres. We got to do it. I'm breaking out, guys. Come on.
Zach, give your parting shot for the Sabres and their warpath real quick before you head out. And also, thanks so much for giving us the time you did.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, thank you for having me on. For the Sabres, I'm saying when they make the playoffs, not if they make the playoffs. Hey. I think it's going to happen. I am not somebody that gets into jinxes or anything like that. Like I'm the kind of guy that's like, hey, this pitcher's pitching a perfect game in like the 6th. It is what it is. I think it's one of those things. Like it just has to happen. And they're getting the goaltending. They are on paper a good roster. Maybe not very good, but a good roster. And you know what? I think the break happened at the perfect time for them. They lost 3 of their last 4. They're still in a playoff spot. Now they're getting healthier. You're going to get Norris. You're going to get Benson. You're going to get UPL. And I think they're going to make a move. They'll probably be defensive. I would have much rather, someone like a Jordan Kyrou out of St. Louis. But I think they'll go somewhere, on the defense. I think especially with Michael Kesselring, the amount of injuries picked up, that it's a bit of a missed year for him. But I think they're going to do something because I think they can smell it. I think they know it's coming. And to be perfectly honest, I'm feeling really good about the Sabres that are in the Olympics. Thompson scores a beauty of a goal, and Dowling gets 3 assists, and we're through 1 game each.
And poor UPL just couldn't get there just because of the injuries. He could have
he'd be starting. He'd be starting the next game. 100% would be starting. But I feel good where they're at. And, I think it's time. When I've been able to be in the building this year, including the game in Montreal, very recently, like when Montreal fans were really selling out the lower bowl, it didn't matter.
Game was cracked.
Vibes were electric. We were watching that on TV here.
It didn't matter. Anytime they got one of their chants going, just immediate boos, and it was deafening. It was so much fun. I think it's coming back. I think the players are feeding off of it, and I think what's maybe going to help them more than anything, actually, is the condensed schedule. The fact that they really won't be able to kind of react, or they're not going to be able to kind of have a moment to breathe. It's all going to just be about reacting. They're going to have like a game every other day until the end. And I think it's going to be awesome. And I think they're going to make it.
Hey, you heard it here first, folks. So Zach, thanks again for joining us, dude. Hey, have yourself a good night. And thanks for hopping on once more.
Be well, boys. Talk soon.
All right, later. All right. So, Derek, it is now time for you to
time. It's time.
Sean has changed his locker room. If you look at his background,
he's got the new backdrop. So, Zach mentioned they're probably going to want to go defense at the deadline. Let's get some names. How about it? Let's have some fun with this. Let's really
let's do that.
Let's really dial in.
So he mentioned Shen. I know Matthew Fairburn had an excellent article out the other day. He mentioned a lot of really top candidates for defense.
Stanley. I like Stanley. Big boy.
Connor Murphy. Stanley's on the top of my list. From
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Stanley, you got Connor Murphy out of Chicago. Justin Falk, another one of those St. Louis guys. Zach Whitecloud was the other guy that was intriguing, but I'd be curious because he was already flipped in the trade from Vegas already this year. I'd be surprised if he went for it. But the one thing that I thought was very intriguing about this for all these defensemen is that they all have either a big game experience or playoff experience, which is what I think the target will be to go for here. And they don't even need to be playing top defensive pairing minutes. They just need to be the depth guy to be able to eat up some more of those lower line minutes and still having a physical presence.
Right.
And
I want Derek talk about Stanley too, because if I'm guessing that's why it's your favorite guy, that physicality that he could bring, right?
So I think it's good in a way that the Sabres were brutally reminded of what they needed. That last game that they have at home against Pittsburgh, Jacob Bryson's on the ice for less than 5 minutes and then is stapled to the bench with 2 ghastly mistakes. Michael Kessering doesn't do much better in almost 8 minutes of time on ice in that game. And he's on the ice for all 3 of Pittsburgh's goals early on. And it's a tough thing to look at the bottom pair defense and go, we're going to leave this the way that it is. It's untenable to have a top 4 skating the amount that they're skating in a condensed schedule and think that it's ultimately going to work out. You need to give some of these guys a little bit less on the minutes, less on the mileage so that they can thrive. Logan Stanley, it's not just the physicality there for me. It is that he is also a responsible defenseman. And with this Sabres top 4, the way that they're gunning, which somehow includes Matthias Samuelsson and all of this, let them gun. Let them roll. And Lindy Ruff is not scared to put defensemen with new partners. So, say I need to take down a little bit of Owen Power's minutes because they had a lot of penalty kills, and OP is their best penalty killer this year. All right, cool. I need someone to skate with Byram real quick. Logan Stanley, get off on the ice and let Byram wheel. Let him have fun. Let him create. And that's where I think that it's going to be a really beneficial thing. You can also allow Owen Power a little bit of less minutes with a physical presence like Stanley, a crease mover, a crease clearer. He's a guy that gets people out of the way. If they get into a series with Montreal, the physicality of a Logan Stanley, the willingness to drop gloves with another player from Logan Stanley is also a valuable thing.
That series would also be a banger.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll feed families, solve world hunger. Zach was mentioning like the atmosphere of that game. Zach was in the press box. I was in the bowl, and oh boy, it was electric. You walked into the building and you could feel the hate palpable. And it's like, oh, give me 7 games of this. I'm turning to Avs fans. I'm like, this would be cool for a playoff series. I'm not going to lie to you.
If I was in the bowl, I would say to every Canadian fan in the best Monty Python impersonation voice, I fought in your general direction.
I love respecting other fans because they made the trip. You always got to appreciate the dedication on that sort of thing. And it's always fun to have those conversations because then you could talk with somebody that has a different perspective. Like they're like, oh man, this team's so much better this year that you guys have. And it would be great to have a 7-game series. Like if you have friendly interactions with people, you get them back typically. And the Abs fans that I talked to that night, they were really cool about everything. They were humming and hawing. They're like, this is an incredible series. The fact that we split the season series 2-2 on this, I would love it. But also if they're going to be lining up against Montreal, I need Logan Stanley to tell Arbor Zekaj, you can't do everything that you want.
Right. Hey. That scares me. A 7-game series or a long series against them. I think that's a tough matchup. But yeah, tweaking the team to be better prepared to play them and to potentially face them would be good. I do have one question for you about the defense specifically. We talked about Metza and that bottom pairing with Bryson. I mean, they've been kind of ho-hum for parts of the season. I mean, at a certain point, they've been all right. Like they still have good plus minus. I mean, is there any reason why we haven't seen Richmond native Zach Jones or my boy Ryan Johnson hasn't got a look yet this year? Like, is it really hurt? You're going to play these guys for 5 minutes a night. Like, give somebody else a look,
I think, Bryson got less than 5 minutes because he goofed up so badly you couldn't play him that night.
Right.
Welcome back from injury. You're playing terribly. Press box is the next level on the elevator. That's where you're going. It's unfortunate, but I don't see Bryson skating in a Sabres uniform for a couple of games here.
Just the reality of that.
Right.
Michael Kesselring is not the prince that was promised, unfortunately. Zach's not here. I love when he says
He's
that.
He's also banged up too, though. Tess is banged up too, to be fair.
I'll always appreciate a great Game of Thrones reference.
Yes. Kesselring, though, he's not the prince that was promised. It turns out it was Josh Doan. That was the real shining piece of that trade. And it does look like while he's been battling injury, he also has never gotten himself into a rhythm at all throughout the entire course of the season. to a point where he is the bottom pair defenseman. And when acquired, he was supposed to be seen as, your power's running mate.
Right.
And it has not happened.
Being the right shot defenseman that everybody was hyping up.
But now you just have 4 left-handed shots that are just buzzing around going, defense go Burr.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Bryson, it's a rarity that he's been that dreadful in a game and got stapled to the bench. Metza has been fine. A player that you don't really hear from in a game, and that's not a bad thing.
And he only averages like about 10 or so minutes a night.
Right.
And that's the thing. If you
he doesn't make mistakes,
players,
really.
If you give players bigger windows and more minutes, there are more opportunities to be overwhelmed. Metz is also a smaller defenseman, a guy that will kind of get run over in the officiating style that the NHL playoffs will bring. That's where I do have my concerns. That's where I do think you need to get a little beef. You need to get a little bit more of a physical presence there on the blue line. And I think it has to come from a player like a Logan Stanley or a Luke Shen or even a Connor Murphy, who I think is more or less like a little bit more on the balance side of things there. I do wonder about Justin Falk. In his older days, he's not as much of that freewheeling defenseman that he once was, but he's a veteran presence. He's a calming presence. He's a guy that would be able to make smart decisions with the puck. And on defense, you really are just, communication is key. You are talking with your guy. You are trying to make sure that you get everything done that it needs to get done by. It's fluid, but it's also about talking. And if you have a guy that is a solid presence like a Justin Falk, I think that that's also a really great thing that you can look at there. I do want to take a moment, though, and I will say, yes, I fart in the general direction of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Thanks for killing my dreams. Because, no, you were writing an article for WGR about trade targets before the deadline, before the Olympic break, and Columbus pops off 9-0-1 to end the Olympic break, or to end the season at the moment at the break. Thanks, guys. I really wanted Boo Jenner. Now I'm not going to get him.
Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. Speaking of the standings with that. Yeah. What's the standings on that? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Derek.
So much of a pain in the ass, though, about like, it made so much sense to get a player like Jenner because he's a career 54% face-off guy. Probably someone that could play winger or center for you because that's what he's been doing this year in Columbus. You allow for the Blue Jackets to be like, yes, we're going to let our captain go try to chase a playoff run and send him off proper. Nah, we're just going to casually rip off 9 of 10 and have points in all 10 of those games and take the title of hottest team in the league. Bleep you, Columbus.
Right. 5 points away from the Sabres in the standings on there. They're the first Eastern Conference team. This is, again, current standings of the Eastern Conference right now. 65 points for Columbus. Sabres at 70 in wild card 1. Bruins, though, right behind them in 69 points. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's unfortunate was with that Pittsburgh
What's the
game.
Gap, Chris? What's the gap, though, like to the next team down out of the
I just had them up earlier. Let me pull that up once more. But Columbus is definitely the front runner of that.
Okay.
Second. Let's see. For the Eastern Conference. So you get to listen to us in our search mode on here, folks. Just some riveting podcast content for you. But at the same time, when it comes to the wild card, right behind Columbus is Washington, even though they are same amount of points, they are down in points percentage due to their 3 extra regulation losses on there. Ottawa at 63, Toronto 63, Philadelphia 61, and Florida. Many people are leaving for dead now at this point, even though they probably shouldn't. It's 61.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
So, but on the other hand, on the upward side of things, if you're looking at the Atlantic Division, had the Sabres have taken out the Penguins, who they are tied for in the Eastern Conference at this point, had the Sabres taken care of business, they would have been second in the Atlantic, where Montreal currently sits, Detroit being in third. 2 of them are tied at 72 points apiece in the standings. Tampa Bay comfortably with 78. I mean, quietly 37-14 in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the Atlantic has become a buzzsaw this year. And you mentioned how the Florida Panthers shouldn't be considered dead. I am, though, going to go ahead and call my shot about the Florida Panthers. They are. Mm-hmm. They've sent 11 Olympians overseas to Italy, where they're all going to be playing some meaningful minutes. And What are you going to do there when you come back? You've got a condensed schedule with a team that's already played too much hockey.
They played essentially a full extra season of playoff hockey on top of what they've already done.
Yep. And now you've got half the roster playing in the Olympics. So good luck to you.
We'll get Barkov back. They will get Barkov back, but will that give you enough of a lift?
Unfathomable considering the injury.
Yes, but it is one of those things where you're also looking at, you have to climb up against so many different teams now.
That's true.
And the Atlantic Division is doing you no favors. Speaking of no favors, the Western Conference, what the hell is going on? If it's East versus West, if it's East versus West, we know what the outcome is going to be at this point.
Especially if they're playing Vegas.
Right. Not even Colorado's immune to this work.
I mean,
the Avs
Detroit
are lucky.
Detroit handled Colorado that one game, going right before that Olympic break, and the following game, the first game Colorado handled them. It was like 5-0, but the following game, because it was a home and home for them, Detroit was able to just walk in and win in Denver at that point. So it's just like, how? Why?
The Avs are incredibly lucky they faced the Sabres in October.
Yeah,
Twice.
Right.
They got the Sabres twice in October. Are you kidding me? Based on how the season's gone and the directions the two teams have gone since then, if Colorado had to draw the Sabres in the latter half of the season, it's going to end differently there. And now instead, it's just that the Sabres have infuriatingly lost against the Avalanche in heinous fashions over the last few years, to a point where Rob Ray openly says on a broadcast, I really don't like this team.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he has a good reason.
6-0 loss or 6-0 blown lead. Yeah. Something like that.
5.
That one was brutal.
Yeah.
I was driving in my car, and I remember they had the 4-1. I think it was like a 5-1 lead or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving in my car from work in Williamsville to the Depew Lancaster area, and all of a sudden it's tied, and I'm like,
okay, laying on the horn, yelling an expletive.
Do I go back to work? What do I do here?
How do I post game? Just rip them up. Yeah.
How do I undo this? Go back.
Right. Oh,
not like that. Yeah. Undo. Control Z. Help.
What did I do?
This is my fault, right? And that's where it's just, I don't know, and I don't understand how the Western Conference against the East has been so lopsided this year, to where, again, there are Western teams that got away with facing the Sabres right away. Utah's one of them. And I think that if those teams faced off right now, it would go a lot differently. And the Sabres even stole a point from them because they were on the heels of a back-to-back, and they still managed to survive and get to overtime and steal a point there.
A team from the West, though, you mentioned how things have just been so weird for them playing the Eastern Conference. A team from the West that they handled, on the other hand, is Dallas. And I want to bring up one thing I texted you about a couple weeks ago, which I thought was a crazy, but like, I don't even think it sounds like it's the most galaxy-brained idea at all, is if not a defensive upgrade, if you're going to go for more scoring, perhaps, your idea for Jason Robertson straight up for Alex Tuck, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that trade.
We're not going to sign him
to dream.
Oh, do it.
He's younger. Why couldn't it happen? Why couldn't it happen?
So it's kind of funny how salty I am about the Boone Jenner thing. That is one of the issues where I don't like. It's funny. Boone Jenner's now in the same category for me as Jason Robertson because of what has happened there, because of Columbus ripping off the wins that they ripped off. Now that's almost in the dream category. Robertson it's weird how Dallas is not committed to him long-term. It's weirder that Team USA still won't put him on their roster.
No.
It's not like he's Cole Caulfield size. He's 6'3".
Yep.
And he's the leading American goal scorer this year, and you still didn't pick him up. Thank you for at least undoing one of your woes and putting Tage Thompson on the Olympic roster. But I don't understand what it is about Jason Robertson that Team USA just refuses to acknowledge. I think that is a deal that is more off-season coded. And obviously you would not be able to get Tuck at that point unless there's an extension already in agreement with Dallas. I also think that the way that Tuck has been playing this year with his consistencies, that will no longer fly. That
Right.
will not
the
jive.
locker room would just deteriorate if he's gone.
That too. I more or less look at the standard of play, and Tuck has not been as consistent this year. He's been in years past. So there's no way that's a 1-for-1 deal. And yeah, like you said, Chris, there's no way you touch the locker room with that, and you don't interrupt it at this point. You treat Tuck like the rental that he is at that point, and you try to find someone in the middle six if you're going to go hunt for a forward, and then also a bottom pair defenseman. Those are the things that they need.
Or you trade for Jason Robertson. He's an RFA, and you sign him and let Tuck walk in the offseason.
The question is, what are you giving up?
Especially because Dallas is a contender for the West.
They're
right
a contender.
Yeah, they're a contender. What are you giving up for them that makes them say yes? That's why it's an offseason move. It's a chance to at least reset, reacknowledge what has to happen. That's downgraded to an offseason move at this point. Again, thanks for killing my dreams, other NHL teams. But you know what? I at least the fact that I can talk about trading for Jason Robertson in a second straight year and it not make 0 sense is already nice enough for me.
You can always trade for Matt Duchene, Chris. Is he available? Where is he?
That's your boy.
Where is
Just
he?
remember,
also in Dallas.
Just remember.
Oh, he is?
He is in Dallas, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Just remember, every offside review that you get from watching hockey is because of Matt Duchene.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's true.
So
That's true. How about Nashville? Stammer, O'Reilly.
Nashville's a team that makes sense. Ryan O'Reilly is unironically also a great idea. Everything that I said about Boone Jenner, career face-off guy, a guy who could play wing or center for you and would come in relatively cheap on a contract.
Chance to do the funniest thing ever and say, hey, I got my passion for the game back.
Yeah.
And also, as we were talking about defensemen, we did not expand a little bit further on this. There was one more name on there, and that's Tyler Myers in Vancouver.
Yes. Make the circle complete.
It's a $3 million cap hit on Myers over the next couple of years. That's easily manageable for your
Dude can still play.
defense. He can still play bottom pair minutes for you, and he would also be able to say, I'm the last active player to have played in the Buffalo Sabres postseason.
Right?
That's true.
Still going.
And also to be coached by the last coach that coached them in the postseason would also be wild.
Right?
It would be a complete full circle moment. But when it comes to what the player is now, both O'Reilly and Myers make sense. It's not something that you can just do for the story. It is because they fill the needs that the Buffalo Sabres have on their roster. When it comes to players that might come out of the roster, who do you take out? Who do you trade for these sorts of things? Jack Quinn's at the top of the list for me, I do think, unfortunately so for him. Likeable kid. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, it's a detriment.
Right.
And you got to hope that not enough scouts are paying attention to that.
Right.
But I also think that you could sell a club on, hey, he's young. He can still, he's cheap on an RFA deal.
12th over pick or whatever, wherever he was, high pick.
Yeah. And
not necessarily to empty the cupboards on this, but you could go towards the Rosean route or Kulik once he gets healthy, hopefully, if fingers crossed.
Kulik, I think, is out of consideration for everything, including returning to the lineup until I hear an inkling of what's going on. There's no way you can even think about entertaining Yuri Kulik, even drawing in the lineup, let alone be a trade piece until then.
First round picks, though, on the other hand, I mean,
get rid of them. I don't need them.
Oh, yeah.
Don't need them.
Don't need them.
Playoffs.
Do what you need to do, not just to make the playoffs, go on a run.
Win.
Because if you match up with, for example, Montreal or Detroit in the first round, you get one of those top 3 Atlantic spots, you can get somewhere.
Not to mention,
legitimately get somewhere.
Not to mention with
the Lightning,
Nashville and Vancouver, both of those teams definitively sellers this year.
Well out of the playoffs.
O'Reilly's $4.5 million per year.
Yeah,
for another, I think, year after this one.
It's only one more year after this. Yeah. That's where I'm very interested. St. Louis is another team that you could talk about if you want to try to add a more long-term piece like a Kyrou or a Robert Thomas.
Yeah,
I would be very interested to see what you do there. I wonder if I would talk to New Jersey.
It's so interesting the way they've just kind of almost collapsed this year too.
New Jersey with Andre Palat, you'd have one more year left at $6 million. He's been there. He's played through deep playoff runs with the Lightning. That's not a player that I would openly dismiss as another one of those like third line kind of forwards that you can sneak in there. But yeah, if I'm looking at what I need now, I would say I need Logan Stanley or Luke Schenn or Connor Murphy. If Toronto's willing to sell, I might look at a couple of players there. Benoit might be a defenseman that you go ahead and look at. If you want a more skillful player, OEL is probably up on the trade market as well.
Yep. Larson, yeah.
They got that forward too. That bigger, I can't remember his name. Real good guy.
McCann.
McMahon.
Yes, Jared McCann.
Bobby McMahon.
Bobby McMahon. I don't know why I thought Jared.
Yeah, Bobby. I said McCann first. That was why. Bobby McMahon is a player that people are really gravitating toward as another trade piece. Someone that would be perfect for playoff hockey. So we'll see. It's going to be very fun and entertaining to see what they do with a trade deadline. I know that this is a GM that doesn't like to sit still. When there's opportunity to strike, historically in these situations, he gets aggressive because he can believe in this team and the way that the Sabres are playing. You can go ahead and tell the fan base very quickly and very easily. This isn't just about making the playoffs. This is about making some noise and trying to get after the cup. And it's not an aberration. It's not something that I'm on drugs saying.
Right. And one other quick point about the Sabres before we kind of start to slow things down and wrap it up here with our Grind Our Gear segment. Derek, can we say that Matthias Samuelsson has beaten the Dryer allegations?
Not only that, hand him to Norris.
Yes.
Matthias Norris Samuelsson is how I've been calling him at this point, or as the one TNT broadcast called him, Michael Samuelsson.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, no, what a turnaround.
Bargain contract now, huh? How about it?
The English dialect cannot properly explain the turnaround that Matthias Samuelsson has given us. So if someone else wants to try it in a different country, please be my guest.
He's already been granted sainthood in the arena.
Yes. I know the party.
Maybe
I know the party responsible, actually.
Maybe my man just got laid. He's got some confidence. Who knows?
I know the party responsible, and it's kind of a familiar name.
Excellent.
It's Ryan Gates.
Oh, that's excellent.
Ryan Gates, Ryan
familiar
Mazeroski,
face
they're
indeed.
the ones that they're handing out cards. They gave me one when I ran into them.
Got to make the candles now.
That's awesome.
Yes, so it's funny. I know it's the two of them that are starting that nonsense, and I love it.
It's awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's transition a bit. I loved having that Warpath talk. Thanks for that, Derek. So transition a bit because
especially
I really
the
want to
shows
make
that
sure.
we've done.
Right,
the shows that we've done have been the Sabres dead to me. All right, next.
Yeah. Right.
Now we're fired up.
This is the first time that I've been able to be on with you guys and actually enjoy talking about the Buffalo Sabres.
Right.
Yes. So let's get to the Grind My Gear segment, gentlemen, or give them their flowers if you see fit to either, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, give flowers or some gratitude or some love towards somebody who deserves it. Or you're like me this week. I absolutely 100% have some gears to grind towards one person in particular. And that person is none other than Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. And I have a very good reason why, because I'm going to show you why on that. So yesterday, when they were talking about how Seattle being able to have their Super Bowl parade on here, I very quickly pounced on them for this too, saying Seattle public schools stay open and deny excused absences during the Seahawks victory parade.
Here we go.
Guaranteeing babysitters. He has the nerve to say babysitters for hundreds of thousands of parents to enjoy.
Chris they don't like that.
I do not like that. I don't talk very often about my job on here, and I'm going to keep most of that private. But as many of you know, I am a teacher as my career. Don't you ever dare say my job and every other educator on there. I made to also give a shout out to Frank Barber, so also known as Hannah Bill Lecter.
Yep.
Also Ryan Talbot, noted teacher.
Yes, Ryan. Yeah,
and
Brian
also
Koziel.
Brian Koziel as well. Cannot forget him. And you also cannot forget, I love her content. Her name's Mary Crippen. She's a teacher in the Miami area. She embeds football into her content and curriculum in an excellent way.
Yeah.
But Ian Rappaport, you get to talk about football and look at your phone 24/7. Give me a couple weeks, maybe even a month, to be able to learn how to speak to the context the way you do. I'm sure I could figure it out, but damn it, I know damn well you could not do my job, so don't you dare ever call me or anybody else in my profession a babysitter. So kindly get it, sheet. That's why Schefter has always had the superior hand.
All right, so I need to go ahead and step in real quick and do a minor retraction, because I did see that news on, I think, what was it, Tuesday, when that report was out there. I did call the teachers hard asses, and I have to make sure that I take that back. It's the administrators that are hard asses, not the teachers, because what teacher wants to be there too?
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I would have been one of those people calling out for that too, because again, for us, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity if that happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, rap sheet, nah, don't mess with me there.
Yeah. So that's me saying I used the wrong profession for the hard asses there. I did have some fun with, like, you know, what was it? Odessa's math class of like sine, cosine, tangent. Like,
no, that's a throwback right there. Shout out to the Q right there. For
there you go. So hated that class so much. But yeah, like, what kid wants to learn about sine, cosine, tangent right now while there's a parade going on? Absolutely, the number is 0. Yeah, that's still wild to me that they had the schools open on a safety issue too.
Right?
Yeah. So, what are you doing?
Yeah. But Ian Rappaport, you grind my gears. I will find a way to let you know that you should absolutely burn for that one.
Hey, find him at a Starbucks.
Right? Hey, that seemed to work last year for Jordan Schultz. So, but gentlemen, are you giving out some flowers, or are you going to lay some hate like me?
Sean, what you got?
I got some quick flowers for Derek. Coming back on. It's been a while. Doing your thing, coming up in the world and in the Buffalo radio scene and beyond. It's great to have you back. And like you said, it's great to be able to talk some positive Sabres vibes into this world.
Hey, don't forget our boy Zach Jones.
No, cannot forget.
Don't forget him.
You guys are a package deal. You guys are a package deal.
Just because he's not here right now doesn't mean he can't get those flowers too. So I'm going to give him some of those in addition.
There you go. Give him half.
There we go. For me, I'm going to go ahead and give some flowers. And I'm going to go with Lindsey Vonn and Ollie Martin. Zach described how metal it was in certain things with Olympic sports. And no, you know what's metal? I'll tell you what's metal. Playing or competing at the world's highest stage with everyone's eyes on you, with broken and damaged parts on your body. Lindsey Vonn, an aggressive skater, obviously, or skier, and it doesn't work for her. She gets in the accident, breaks a leg, in addition to the ACL tear that she suffers right before the Olympic Games. That's metal to even be out there and try it. Ollie Martin, a 17-year-old with a broken arm, finishes in 4th in the snowboard big air. And you want to talk about some sort of aura farming, like the kids are saying these days? Ollie Martin going out there, it's like this perfect, like, perpendicular slide going forward. And I'm like, that's just badass. You have a broken arm. You're about to do some flips and stuff that not many people in the world can do. And he falls just short of the podium in addition there. So,
might as well be Piccolo standing on the side of the cliff.
Yes, pretty much. That's what's going on there. Been standing here the whole time, actually. So that's one of those things where you got to give them their flowers for what they're able to do despite the challenges that were thrown right at them there. And I hope Lindsey Vonn has a quick and speedy recovery. Ollie Martin as well, that broken arm, healed that thing up. And looking forward to seeing him in the next Olympic Games. Lindsey Vonn, I don't know what the story, how her story ends from there in terms of international competition, but she's still one of the most decorated skiers in history, and that's for a reason.
Absolutely. So you can do nothing but admire just like the effort she put in to not only like make sure she was healthy enough to do those runs, but she was potentially able to make a run for a medal. I know the other American skier was able to take the gold in that. She was out of Wyoming. Her name misses me at this point, but still, for her to at least make that effort again, she absolutely deserves to get the flowers in that regard as well. But still, super impressive. And like you were saying before, and like I mentioned this before, more people need to describe things as an adjective with metal.
That is metal.
Yeah.
That's metal as F right there, dude. Sliding down the way that Ollie Martin did. with that broken arm, knowing that entry, it was so crisp and clean, and it's just, and he sticks the landing too. Like it's to see, like you even see the right arm just kind of like hanging down, knowing that he's not really going to try to lift that thing. That's not going to be the grab arm for this trick. And again, when you hit it. And it's a shame that he didn't make the podium, but it's a recognizable moment right away to kick off the Olympic Games as well. That was really cool to see.
For sure. So with that, folks, that's going to kind of start to do it for us. Again, Derek, big thanks for coming on. You always tend to set the records for us because the conversation's always great. So almost 2 hours running in on this one. So
it's like we've known each other for years.
Right. Who would have known?
Right. But again, Derek, and also again, thanks to Zach as well. Thank you so much as always. Always looking forward to hearing you guys on the airwaves, of course. Shawnee V, any closing thoughts for this evening?
No. As soon as we jump off this episode, we'll get the audio side up for those of our listeners who check us out on Spotify, Pandora, and whatnot. And other than that, I'm going to be booking a trip to come see you, my friend. So,
yes. So, with that, also for next week, look for us to be joined by our friend in the Shenandoah Valley in Harrisonburg, Riley Reed of Q101. Comes to join to talk for college basketball, particularly James Madison, how they're faring, how their football season fared, of course, too. Also giving his excellent takes with his upbringing as a Buffalo sports fan here in Virginia on his Bills and Sabres thoughts. So with that, folks, thank you as always, and let's go Buffalo.
Let's go Buffalo.